All right, so let's call the meeting to order, please. Can I have a roll call?
Mike Davenport.
Here.
Cheryl Fuller.
Here.
Dan Nicholas.
Here.
Carrie Pavasich.
Here.
Rick Pavanato.
Here.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Here.
Haley Grubich.
Here.
Ariel Johnson.
Here.
All right, sounds like we've got a quorum. Let's all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you all. Our next item is approval of minutes. Can we have a motion to approve the November 18th business meeting, November 18th closed meeting, and the December 2nd workshop meeting, please?
So moved.
Second.
I know, sir.
Joanna.
Joanna.
Dan Nicholas.
Talking to
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
My ADRB meetings.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Carrie Pavasich.
I abstain. I missed two of them.
And Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the reception of visitors. Anybody who would like to address the board might want to approach the microphone. I don't think there's anybody here, so that'll be that. Moving on to item number 5, recommendations and reports of Superintendent Dr. Thiele.
Sure. The first couple are returners from the prior board meeting, so this is just the final opportunity for the board to ask any questions that might have come up between the last meeting and this meeting. So the first one is summer school recommendations. So Gina and I will take any questions if there's any outstanding. Hearing none.
Not for me.
All right, we'll move on to the summer school calendar, which is typical calendar we've been following for the last several years, which is the 4-day work week, extended days for those 4 days. Any questions?
Nope.
All right, and then, these are all returning. So,
Yes.
And then the final one is curriculum proposals and changes for the next upcoming school year, as Gina presented at the last meeting, and if there's any returning questions, Gina could take those from you now.
Nope. Sounds good.
Very good.
All right. So then the next thing is approval of funding bond resolutions. At this point, first we will turn it over to Mark, but just a reminder that these are for our third issuance of bonds for the MFP and additional life safety bonds. And then these are up for action later in the meeting.
Yeah, just real briefly, you have the memo, but just to give a quick overview, there's two purposes we're going to be putting together in one bond issuance. One is the final, this we anticipate being the third and final issuance of bonds for the master facility plan. Originally, there was possibly a 4 issue configuration, but interest rates are so low right now that we feel it's time to strike. Interest rates can pop back up quickly, and right now we're well below the total amount of expense we had put together when we did the referendum. We're already at a point where we think we'll save more than $18 million than the original issuance, and we won't feel it now, but it'll be at the end. It's actually 2.5, almost 3 years of cutting this total issuance short. And that's the bonds that are out the furthest are the most expensive, and that's why we take it off that back end rather than average everything down and spreading it. So, and if we averaged it down, it might be like a $20-30 savings on a $300,000 house. It wouldn't be that significant. So we're just going to just end it sooner with the master facility bonds. We think the average interest cost for this will be under 3% somewhere, because these are the longer bonds. It's a little bit higher than the last one, maybe about 2.5% average interest cost, which is fantastic for a 20-year bond. And so that's the master facility portion of it. The second piece, just to avoid costs of issuance, or the little bit that we need to have sufficient funds in the life safety fund for the rewiring of the North High School auditorium that we talked about a few months back, perhaps. And as we were going through the master facility plan, realized that the wiring had to be completely replaced all the way back. And it's about a $600,000 job, but we have some money in the life safety fund already, so this is just what we need in addition. So when this project's over, we should pretty much have cleaned out that fund. And so it doesn't really add any cost for us to tag it into this one, so we probably save about $25,000 to $30,000 of legal fees and issuance costs on just such a small bond issuance. So that's why you'll see two of these together. So you'll see two separate resolutions, and we are asking for you in the resolutions to read the whole thing, which is cumbersome, but also to approve the board president in this case, because our legal counsel, bond counsel, would like us and prefer that we have Nancy sign it as president in her capacity, because the resolution reads that way for the most part, and so we'd like to have her sign. So in your motion, it'll be to authorize Nancy Kupko, the board president, to sign the resolution. So you have two separate resolutions in the action section. Any questions at all, or?
So Mark, I know with some of the prior bonds, we had an opportunity for local citizens to purchase bonds.
Thank you for reminding me of that. I was supposed to say that. We are again going to advertise it in the Daily Herald and the local suburban life papers that we will have an opportunity for retail sales. They call that retail. It's a little cumbersome because it's bundled differently for retail. But we actually had someone call after the last one, say, why didn't you sell it to taxpayers? I said, we did everything we could to advertise it. We had it at the meetings, we put it on our website. So I have that person, and I'm going to call him once these are approved. So we will again offer it for retail sale. There's a local Raymond James office, or they can go to their own. If they have a financial consultant, they can go to that person and just say, contact Raymond James office, and they can secure it. It's going to be the same price, whatever the market price for whatever maturity they want, up to 20 years. It's not going to vary because they're using Raymond James. So it's a nice opportunity, kind of way to buy a piece of history. Minimum purchase is a $5,000 bond. Thank you for reminding me of that, Dan. Any other questions?
All right, that's up for, both of those are up for action later tonight, following long resolutions that I will read so Mike can hold on to his voice. Next item is tax levy request, and just a reminder to the board, it's at this meeting every year that we present the recommended levy to the board. Before Mark presents the recommendation that will be voted on later tonight, I want to remind the board, as I do every year, that other school administrations do not put in the time and effort that Mark and his team do in preparing the levy. As I've mentioned before, other school districts will just submit a balloon levy, a big number that they know that all of the numbers will fit inside of. That's a way to make sure that every dollar is captured, but it doesn't really provide a clear, transparent number to the community or to the board. The way that Mark goes about this is to spend a lot of time throughout the year monitoring where CPI is, making sure he's checking with our assessors about new construction, and really putting in the legwork up front. For those of you that have returned almost every year, he's pretty darn close to where it actually ends up being, and it's just good practice that the community sees that we're doing our homework and that we're not just throwing out crazy numbers that aren't realistic to the community. So that being said, I'll turn it over to Mark to go into what those actual numbers are.
Thanks. Here's the analysis of the levy request, and trying to estimate what it's going to be is kind of the fun part of it. I mean, that sounds pretty nerdy, but you know, it's
fun for Mark.
It's actually it's actually trying to guess what that. And the factor here is really a little difficult this year because we have the TIF rolling off in Woodridge, where we'll see some dollars from the reserve, but we probably won't see any real new construction out of that net to speak of. And we're getting better at least in working with the village, and it's going to be the county clerk, because they really handle the TIF new construction portion of it, and trying to get to what their numbers will be when it rolls off. So, but what is known right now, we know the blue there on the left is, we know what the assessed valuation was for 2018. We know that the cap for this levy, this request we're making is, should be talking into this maybe. We know that the,
Ariel to move over. Can you slide over, hon?
oh,
Just so the camera can see the slide. Thank you so much.
thank you. We know that the cap for property tax cap purposes is 1.9% for this levy. We know that that's the only amount, if you look in the lower right-hand section, 1.9% is the only amount in aggregate that all of our taxpayers will feel an existing taxable property. The stuff in the yellow there, that's really just, it is a little bit of ballooning, but it's educated guessing about what the topic could be, what we estimate it could be that new construction would be in our district for this tax year. Tells me what the extensions could be, and so we're going to ask for that amount. And it's important that we do ask for it, because if we don't get it in this first year, we won't ever get it. And we're really limited to cost of living increases in our tax rate, which sometimes our expenses accommodate the cost of living, but sometimes they don't. Transportation in particular, and some of those other positions, outside contractors, where we they have fairly low pay scale. It's hard to find drivers, and their rates are going up faster than the cost of living. So we have some expenditure categories that exceed cost of living each year. But then in the green, that is kind of what we expect to really happen. We do think that the EAV change will grow by 4.5%, which is about what it did last year. It's been growing. When we did our presentation to Standard & Poor's, part of the positive aspect, they've renewed our AA+ ratings for this new issue. It was the growth of our EAV and the strength we have in Downers Grove and Woodridge and the properties that we have. So we have a really strong community and real estate aspects. And so we think new construction will be just under 1%, 95.95%. And it should yield, our tax rate will drop to $1.67. That's my guess right now. And the factors that could change that, if the EAV changes differently or the new construction changes differently, then our tax rate would change slightly, but I don't think it'll change much. And so, but even though we're asking for $81.9 million, we should probably only net $81 million, a little over $81 million. And we'll have to reduce this request in probably end of March, early April, when the county clerk tells us what the actual values are for new construction and EAV, and then we will have to tailor it to the amount of tax caps. That's about it. It's kind of a routine thing. You've seen, if you've been here, you've seen this year after year. So hopefully it's clear. So any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right. Master Facility Plan bid progress. Jim?
Hey, a couple bids for you. These are the last of Phase B for North and South. I'll kind of go through the first one. This is specific to North. We had 26 bids, about $1.3 million worth of work, and a lot of familiar contractors, again, getting awarded that were awarded a year ago. So a lot of these are familiar. This is for North High School specifically. The next one is a rebid. Tony, if you just move to the, there you go. We rebid 3 items because they came in high on the first round. Reconfigured them a little bit and then put them back out. Much better numbers from the bid that you just seen and this one. About $200,000 under budget. So actually these 2 rounds went very well. Noteworthy, this Thursday, we start bidding out Phase C for South High School, about $28 million worth of work going out. So hopefully we'll have some good news after Thursday with bids coming in well. And in January the 15th, we'll have North Phase C. So we will have 2 huge bids for Phase C in December and January, and then some miscellaneous final ones in February and March, and then we'll be done bidding out the entire project. So we're going to really know where we're at by mid-January on our entire bids. So moving right along.
Fabulous.
Any questions I can answer on these?
Looks good.
All right, so Jim's a good transition into the discussion for master facility plan progress. What I've provided to the board is what we've started receiving. We started this at the beginning of this school year, and we've been bringing it monthly to the board. It's changed a little bit just in format, but I think the last time I told you, now we have a pretty consistent layout. So original is the original budget. In the middle is kind of more for administratively for us to kind of see, what we've kind of budgeted combined with what we've already committed to, and then the key part there is unlet, the amount that is still waiting to come in through the bid process that Jim just described. Then over at the other side is truly our end budget where we're working right now. So that's where I would encourage you to keep a close eye. Really between original and the last one is what you would traditionally see in where you are originally, where your budget is trending. You can see for these, our contingency still remains strong. Remember, right now you had stuff from the GMAX, the original number. You see that contingency grow because there's projects that were originally in A that we're putting off for B and C. So that money flows into the contingency, but it's going to flow right back out to B and C as we bid out and go through all of the rest of the projects. So that's why you see that number fluctuate like that. Everything else is remaining true to what we expected. So far, we're on schedule and on budget. If you'll scroll down to the next part of the document there, Tony. So this is just the highlight points here, okay? And I've provided the board this time. Last time I just provided you the highlights. Now I'll start providing the full report as we can get it, so you can totally dig in if you'd like to all the lines, especially as we head into B and C here, and we've wrapped up A. But across the top are important numbers for you to look at. That's first one is the GMAX number, contract value. Contingency is an important number for us to monitor we want to keep that healthy as we move forward. Remember, our contractors have told us to make sure that we have at least $2 million in there heading into the last summer of work, right? So we want to keep that there. FF&E allowance, that's that furniture, fixtures, and equipment. We expect that all of that will be spent as part of this project. And then remember the next one, the contractor allowances, those are kind of contingencies inside of the bids that go to each individual contractor. We expect them to use those allowances, but a lot of times they don't use all of them. So as those complete, they flow back to us. Almost all of Phase A that is going to flow back in has at this point. Those numbers that are remaining out there are for fire alarm systems and sprinkler suppression, which are projects that started in A but continue through B and C. So it's a part of Phase A that will remain open until the end. So you won't see that number in Phase A go down much because almost all of A is closed out right now, except for those ongoing projects. When that is all completed, then whatever we haven't used in those allowances could come back to us as contingency. Phase B, we have a lot of allowances out there because we've bid out Phase B. Phase C, as you heard, come Thursday of this week, and then the 15th of next month, Phase C will be bid out with all of its allowances, and that $10,000, which just is the only thing we've bid out for Phase C is an elevator at South. Right. So that's the allowance for the elevator install at South. You will see between now and probably the next meeting, and definitely the meeting after that in February, that Phase C allowance number grow greatly, right? Because we'll have that inside of the bids that come back in the next 2 months. So after that, Tony, if you just scroll down to the next one, I'm not going to go through it, but I just want to, it then starts breaking it down by each school, by each line. You can kind of see these things as to how they work by each phase, and you can see where the actual things are that are flowing in and out. So this will, now that I've kind of reached the point where I've explained the whole thing to you multiple times, now you can get into that level of oversight. the core team, and obviously the administration is, Jim is on this all the time. But now if you want to start tracking things, or if you want to ask questions about individual lines, we're to the point, especially with Phase A, because we're closing it out. If there's something you want to go back to and you have a follow-up question, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll get the answer to your question. But you're going to start seeing this full report now on a monthly basis from here until the end of the project.
So Hank, where would we see in here, or wouldn't we yet? We talked about a month ago about the new driveway potentially at South, that being estimated out. Has that been accounted for yet, or is that still contingency?
That would still be in contingency right now.
And then how about the potential additional costs that we're envisioning for the issues we ran into at North under the bleachers?
The soils?
That's still coming. They're still redesigning that right now.
So that's not reflected in here yet?
Not yet. Yeah, that'll be inside of the contingency, and that's going to be pricey, the bleachers
That was
at
one of
North.
my questions tonight, was that how much of a hit do we think, what are we having to do with those soils? Do we know yet? Are we drilling down
Yeah, that's
another
what it is.
20, 30 feet or something?
20 to 30 feet. You're
25. We're looking to be creative in how we put the pillars in. The key issue is the new squad rooms and the cement platform that's underneath it. So if you can imagine, that soil is so soft,
Yep.
we don't want that concrete to go down like quicksand.
We don't?
So we got to,
the basement squadrons.
the basement squad rooms, it's 4 steps down.
Right?
So.
So you're excavating a lot of soils out of there then?
Yes, and then building it up mostly with
Stone.
CA6 and some rock and,
Rock,
you know, we're getting other pricing because we had one price that's pretty high, and we're talking hundreds of thousands here.
Yes.
So we'll see, give it another week or so and we'll have better numbers.
All right.
So we're looking at different avenues to save money and still do the same results.
Well, we got a chunk out of the contingency, though, coming for that.
We will.
We
Yes.
will.
Yeah, but we have to.
Right, yeah, it's the only way to complete the project, and that's what the contingency,
Yeah,
in
it's
fairness,
unfortunate.
that's what the contingency is
Right, I
there
was just
for.
curious if it was reflected yet. in
No,
that
not yet.
contingency.
So, most of those things that we approved as alternates at 2 months ago, or whenever,
Whatever it was.
time flies, those will start showing up in the new bids that come in
Okay.
here. But the actual drives at South, we had a meeting last week.
Correct.
With the Village of Downers Grove, DuPage County, White, us, and the traffic consultants, all met to start scoping out that project timeline. White is now drawing things up based on that. There'll have to be a traffic study. There's a lot of work. It's not as simple as like putting a driveway in at your house, you know. This is a pretty extensive change to the property itself. But everybody's on board that, you know, it was nice to hear from the village and the county how much they trust in the traffic consultants that we hired. That they're very highly regarded by those folks, so they take their recommendations very seriously. So it was a good meeting to be in. I feel like we're making progress, but that stuff will all be coming down the road still.
So related to the safety, but not necessarily MFP, the light at Springside and 63rd, I think I remember reading that
It is
that's being
delayed.
Delayed.
Yes, and it's not at.
Get that out
Yeah,
in
that-
the record here.
Yeah, absolutely. That was shared with us at that meeting, that the steel market is in such a condition that the actual steel that's being used to put those, the light poles up is what'd they say, 42-week back order?
Astronomical. They said spring of '21 is when we're expected to have it.
So it's almost a year behind what they originally
Wow.
forecasted.
That's what we said. Wow.
That's
We borrowed
disappointing.
some steel from North that we
Yeah.
already got on site. Just kidding.
They didn't need it.
Yeah. Could have offered them the bleachers.
No, I think we should have,
Yeah, it's
be
been
the
good.
engineering, be Project Lead the Way, it'll be the new project.
Yeah, project from Project
Design.
Lead the Way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's still a 42-week back order for the equipment. So
Can our 3D printer do anything?
That's creative.
that would be
Terry.
something.
It would be.
That's creative.
We get pretty wealthy with it.
Yeah.
Magically
I think
create
we just
steel.
bought a new one from the foundation, just bought a new one, so.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
So that was disappointing to hear. They will continue to look to see if there's any way to speed that process up, but they were not optimistic about the possibility of that. But I'm glad you brought that up. Otherwise, steel started to go up at North High this week. If you go to the website and watch the camera and watch the last 4 days, you'll see like a rector set show up inside of where the new gym will go at North. So it's kind of cool to see that go into place. South is well underway with roof went on, the temporary roof is on, we have floors, we have steel. It really, if you drive by that, you really get a feel for what that addition is going to look like. So we're making great progress at this point.
And they actually poured concrete at Bleacher here.
Oh, yeah.
South. Today they were out
Footings
there,
went in
so
today.
Footings went in, so they've really done a quick job here at South, so they're moving right along.
All right.
Excellent. So, next, Freedom of Information Act.
We had them, and as always, they are posted on our website.
Right. Next item is a consent agenda, right? And
Before we get into the motion, because you're going to read it in the motion, I do want to take a moment to point out that this month's consent agenda contains several very generous donations from our community, and the administrative team, I'm sure the board will thank everybody soon, but the administrative team greatly appreciates the partnership with our community members and everything that they do to support our kids and to bring extra opportunities to our students here. So thank you to those that are offering up these generous donations.
I would also like to point out that we have amended one of the personnel reports. So you originally had a document entitled Resignations Classified that has now been amended to include a retirement certified. On Friday, we received a retirement request from Bill Scubas from South High School, so he's been added to that document this evening.
Very good. Thank you. All right. May I have a motion for the Board of Education to approve the consent agenda as presented, which includes A, personnel report, appoints certified, appoints classified, B, personnel report, retirement certified, resignations classified, C, personnel report, termination classified, D, financial pages, E, approval of educational tour, F, acceptance of donation, District 99 Education Foundation, G, acceptance of donation, Mr. and Mrs. Grain, H, acceptance of donation, Louis E. and Jean C. Neal Fund of the DuPage Foundation, and I, acceptance of donation in honor of Elizabeth Dunlap.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sherelle?
Thank you very much.
A roll call?
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
And Mike Davenport.
Aye. Motion's approved. Recommendations for action. Right?
Yep.
So, okay. So we need approval of the 2020 summer school recommendations. May I have a motion for the Board of Education to approve the 2020 summer school recommendations as presented?
Motion to approve the 2020 recommendations for summer school.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Terry? Okay. Roll call?
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
And Mike Davenport.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the 2020 summer school and summer calendar. May I have a motion for the Board of Education to approve this summer calendar as presented?
So moved. Yeah.
Don't everybody rush.
Who moved first?
Sherelle did.
Sherelle,
Thank you very much.
and Dan Nicholas second.
Thank you so much.
Roll call, please.
Sherelle Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
And Mike Davenport.
Aye.
you.
Motion's approved. Next item is the approval of the 2020-2021 curriculum proposals and changes. May I have a motion to approve these proposals and changes as presented?
Go Dan.
So moved.
Second motion.
Sherelle second.
No, I think
No,
it's Joanna.
Joanna.
I'm sorry.
Joanna.
Thank you.
All right.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
And Mike Davenport.
Aye.
I'll read them.
Motion's approved. And next, item D, Dr. Thiele is going to read for me.
The next item for consideration is the issuance of not to exceed $75,560,000 in general obligation bonds approved at the March 20th, 2018 referendum and is to be issued by the district pursuant to Section 19-3 of the school code for the purpose of paying certain costs of improving the sites of building and equipping additions and to altering, repairing, and equipping existing buildings and to building and equipping outdoor facilities and enclosed structures. Said projects including but not limited to constructing security improvements, increasing accessibility under the American with Disabilities Act, enclosing all or a portion of the outdoor courtyards to increase indoor learning spaces, renovating classroom science labs, vocational labs, and learning spaces, and completing the installation of air conditioning in all classrooms. The Board of Education will consider the adoption of a resolution providing for the issue of said bonds and the levy of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest thereon. The resolution sets forth the parameters for the issuance of said bonds and sale thereof by designated officials of the district and summarizes the pertinent terms of said parameters, including the specific parameters governing the manner of sale, length of maturity, rates of interest, purchase price, and tax levy for said bonds. The title of the resolution is Resolution Providing for the Issue of not to exceed $75,560,000 general obligation school bonds, Series 2020A of Community High School District Number 99, DuPage County, Illinois, for the purpose of paying certain costs of those capital projects approved by referendum at the March 20th, 2018 general primary election, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, and authorizing the proposed sale of said bonds to Raymond James and Associates, Inc., or the Illinois Finance Authority.
I'll take it. May I have a motion for the Board of Education to adopt said resolution as presented and read by title and authorize the Board President to sign said resolution?
So moved.
Second motion.
Is it Joanna?
Is
Thank you.
Joanna, yes. Is there any discussion? Not? Okay. Can we have a roll call, please?
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye. The motion is carried and said resolution adopted. Julie, please record this in records of the Board of Education of Community High School District 99, DuPage County, Illinois. Thank you. So item E.
Item E is, the next item for consideration is the issuance of not to exceed $390,000 of general obligation limited bonds to be issued by the district pursuant to Section 17-2.11 of the school code for the purpose of altering and reconstructing school buildings and purchasing and installing equipment therein for fire prevention and safety, energy conservation, and school security purposes, and that the Board of Education would consider the option of adoption of a resolution providing for the issue of said bonds and the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal and interest thereon. The resolution sets forth the parameters for the issuance of said bonds and the sale thereof by designated officials of the district and summarized by the pertinent terms of said parameters, including the specific parameters governing the manner of sale, length of maturity, rates of interest, purchase price, and tax levy for said bonds. The title of the resolution is Resolution Providing for the Issue of Not to Exceed $390,000 of general obligation limited tax school bonds, Series 2020B of Community High School District Number 99, DuPage County, Illinois, for the purpose of altering and reconstructing a school building and purchasing and installing equipment therein for fire prevention and safety, energy conservation, and school security purposes, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, and authorizing the proposed sale of said bonds to Raymond James and Associates, Inc., or the Illinois Finance Authority.
Thank you. May I have a motion for the Board of Education to adopt said resolution as presented and read by title and authorize the Board President to sign said resolution?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second motion.
Joanna seconded.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion? I'd had just one question I'd asked ahead of time about it, that this is a 3-year maturity, so basically we pay this money back over the course of the next 3 years.
Right,
Yes.
this is the debt
Right.
service extension base that we have,
Right.
so, that's used for life safety primarily, so.
As opposed to
Right,
the previous thing that we just did, that was over many years. This is something that's essentially like a 3-year loan, and we'll have it paid off, and that'll be that. So that's all there is to it. Any other discussion? If we could please have a roll call vote for the motion.
Terry Pavasich. Aye. Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
And Mike Davenport.
Aye. The motion is carried and said resolution adopted. Please record this in the records of our board, District 99, DuPage County. Thank you. All right, so next item is the approval of the 2019 tax levy. May I have a motion for the Board of Education to approve the certificate of tax levy, the certification of certificate of tax levy, and the certificate of compliance with the truth in taxation law as presented.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second motion.
Joanna seconded.
Thank you.
If we could have a roll call, please.
Terry Pavasich. Aye. Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
And Mike Davenport.
Aye. The motion is approved. Thank you. All right, item 8, old business. Any to discuss? All right, new business. Any to discuss? Number 10, reception of visitors, public comment. This is an opportunity for anybody who wants to talk to us about basically anything concerning our board. This is your opportunity to step forward and talk to us. So, no takers? No takers. All right, so we'll close that portion and go on to communication and announcements. Report on Legislative Education Network. Lend.
Next meeting's in January. I did have a question. I just wanted to ask a question. I don't know if this is the right spot or not. I'm just wondering from our student board members, how are the student population feeling coming into finals this week? What's the mood at the schools? How's everybody doing?
I'd like to hear that too.
As far as South, I know like the juniors and seniors that I've been talking to say that I think it's mainly because Thanksgiving break has been so close because Thanksgiving was later that they felt like they didn't have like a lot of time to prepare because the finals came so quickly. But the freshmen that I talked to, they feel more confident than like the juniors and seniors. And I feel like because they haven't had that either the longer break in between Thanksgiving break and winter break, or even I believe it was my freshman or sophomore year where finals was after winter break. So that's pretty much how it is going at South.
I actually had to film a video about this for journalism today. I had to go around and ask students what they felt about it finals.
Excellent.
And everything I heard was positive so far. Some people were stressed out, but I mean, it's like expected to be stressed out. But other than that, I think it's okay.
Very good.
Sorry.
No,
All right. Thank you.
put them to work. If they sit through a whole meeting on levies, they might as well.
That's enough punishment.
Had to laugh. All right, next item, report on school association, SASSET.
I was not at the meeting. I was sick, so I can't report at this time. But
There's a lot of that sick stuff
Yes.
going around. District 99, District 99 Education Foundation. Terry?
Pretty much all we talked about was Pizza Wars, so, I was not able to attend, but I'm getting back into the swing of things, so hopefully next time.
Very good, very good. IASB, I don't have a report. Superintendent's cover, let's see, that's it. So that's upcoming board meetings, January 13th, 2020.
Yep. Next decade.
Wow.
Isn't that hard to believe?
Yeah. New Roaring 20s. Workshop meeting at 6:30 p.m. here at the ASC on January 13th, and then on January 27th, we have a regular business meeting also here at 6:30 p.m. Now we need to go into closed session. So may I have a motion for the board to go into closed session for the purpose of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity.
So moved.
A second.
Cheryl first, then Joanne.
Yes.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, roll call.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
And Mike Davenport.
Aye. The motion's approved. So just a note that the board will not be taking any action other than to adjourn our meeting after we come out of closed session. So anybody wants to stick around to see us adjourn, they're certainly welcome to do so. But otherwise, you won't be missing anything if you decide to take off on us. So that's it. We'll take maybe just a couple minutes before we...
Take a short break in closed session. We'll
Right.
be in this room, so we'll
Staying here?
be clearing out the room.
Very good. All right.